Forget everything you had planned for this weekend because you are sitting on your couch and winning from the comfort of your own home. I'm here with SpinQuest, where you can play hundreds of slot games, all the table games you love, and you could even win real cash prizes. New users, $30 coin packs are on sale for $10 at spinquest.com.
SpinQuest is a free-to-play social casino. Void where prohibited. Visit spinquest.com for more details.
This is Optimal Relationships Daily. Why Breakups Hurt So Much by Dr. Lisa Firestone of psychalive.org. When we feel absolutely devastated by a relationship coming to an end, we should ask ourselves a serious question. What are we really losing? Admittedly, one of the most painful things in life is loss, and losing contact with someone we love can be heartbreaking. However, many people decide to call it quits after months or even years of emotional estrangement and physical distance. Then, why is it that couples who rarely show affection or who barely relate often feel panicked at the loss of their partner? Or why is it that a person who is on the verge of ending a relationship that they are unhappy in feels desperate and abandoned when their partner chooses to end the relationship first? The overwhelming, emotionally shattering sense of loss that we experience at the end of a relationship is often the result of our having created a fantasy bond with our partner. A fantasy bond is a term developed by my father, psychologist Robert Firestone, to describe an imagined connection a person develops to another person, thereby creating an illusion of security or false sense of safety. When individuals do this, they no longer express genuine acts of love. Instead, they substitute real relating with the form of having a relationship and exist as two isolated people living two separate lives. A fantasy bond helps the people in a couple to feel that they are not alone, and yet they are often emotionally distanced from one another. When we are in a fantasy bond, our actual relationship may have begun to erode long ago, when we started replacing real acts of kindness, respect, and affection with deadening routines and defensiveness toward each other, when we gradually showed less and less physical affection or stopped expressing a personal interest in one another. Eventually, neither one of us is truly being ourselves. We are no longer vulnerable to our loved one. Thus, when we lose the relationship, what we are really losing is the false sense of security that the fantasy bond provided, and not the intimacy that we once felt with our partner. For example, a woman I knew decided to leave her husband. For years, there had been little exchange between the two in terms of warmth, romance, or even small acts of thoughtfulness. She felt strong in her decision and bright about her future. She was even excited at the possibility of finding love again. Her husband begged her not to leave and told her he couldn't go on without her. So she decided to stay and try to work things out. For months, nothing changed between them. And soon enough, her husband decided he wanted a divorce. The woman was devastated. Having once felt solid about her own decision to leave, she now felt panicked and fell to pieces at the thought of being alone. She feared she wouldn't be able to take care of herself, to even survive without him. It took her some time, but the woman ultimately realized that it wasn't her husband's loss she was mourning. It was the illusion of security that the relationship provided. She had used her marriage to feel that she was living up to society's expectations, to prove that she was a desirable woman. When she planned to leave him, she felt stable and confident in herself. Yet when he decided to leave her, she was overwhelmed by fears, insecurities, and attacks on herself. When we're feeling devastated after a breakup, it's important to take a hard look at what might be creating this feeling. Is it the loss of the relationship or the fantasy? Were we really treating each other in a loving way? Were we really there for each other? Were we both showing care, honesty, and respect for each other? Am I upset by the loss of actual relating or the fantasy that we substituted for real relating long ago? Am I indulging in self-critical thoughts that tell me I'll never find love, or that there is something wrong with me? When we feel rejected, we often start to listen to destructive inner voices that attack us and our partner. When we're listening to these destructive thoughts, we're more likely to feel humiliation than real sadness over our loss. Our inner critic fuels feelings of not being able to survive on our own, often saying that no one will ever love us. When these voices aren't viciously attacking us, they are often raging at our partner, which only supports a victimized orientation to our situation. Our critical thoughts are rarely based on reality. They represent a vicious anti-self that is a negative way of seeing oneself that is incorporated early in one's life. When a fantasy bond is broken, we are more likely to mourn the end of our false sense of security than the end of real, loving relating. The scene in the iconic film When Harry Met Sally captures this dynamic perfectly, when a sobbing Sally calls her best friend Harry over to her apartment. Sally is distraught because a man she had seriously dated a while ago was now getting married to someone else. While Sally had never wanted to marry her ex and felt admittedly fine after their breakup, the news that he was committing to someone else had her in hysterics. Sally said, "All this time I thought he didn't want to get married. But the truth is, he didn't want to marry me. He didn't love me." Harry says, "If you could take him back now, would you?" And Sally replies, "No, but why didn't he want to marry me? What's the matter with me?" When we break up with someone and we're willing to let go of this illusion of connection, we might find that we are far less devastated by the separation. Instead, we can feel our real feelings of sadness or loss. However, we won't feel as if we are losing ourselves. It's important to remember that you are a whole person on your own. No person can complete you. You're not losing your identity by losing your relationship. You may even be opening up a door to get to know yourself better. Without the deadening restraints of a fantasy bond, we can discover who we really are and what we really want. We can develop our capacity to be loved and open ourselves up to staying close with someone who is available and kind to us. A relationship built on love, as opposed to fantasy, is far less likely to crumble overnight because it is based on honesty and real relating. When we develop ourselves, we improve our chances of finding the type of relationship that keeps us feeling vital and is well worth fighting for. You just listened to the post titled, "Why Breakups Hurt So Much," by Dr. Lisa Firestone of psychalive.org.
The new year means new health goals, not just for your body, but for your finances too. But did you know financial health is directly related to identity protection? You need LifeLock because your personal info is in endless places that are outside of your control. It only takes one mistake, and not even your mistake, to expose you to identity theft and lost funds. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points per second and alerts you to threats you could miss on your own. If your identity is stolen, LifeLock's US-based restoration specialist will fix it, backed by the $1 Million Protection Package. In fact, restoration is guaranteed or your subscription money back. Don't face drained accounts, fraudulent loans, or other financial losses from identity theft alone. Resolve to make identity, health, and wealth part of your New Year's goals with LifeLock. Visit lifelock.com/iHeart and save up to 40% your first year. That's 40% off at lifelock.com/iHeart. Terms apply.
Forget everything you had planned for this weekend because you are sitting on your couch and winning from the comfort of your own home. I'm here with SpinQuest, where you can play hundreds of slot games, all of the table games you love, and you could even win real cash prizes. New users, $30 coin packs are on sale for $10 at spinquest.com.
SpinQuest is a free-to-play social casino. Void where prohibited. Visit spinquest.com for more details.
And thank you so much to Dr. Lisa Firestone for another terrific write-up and a great take on breakups that we might not have heard before, albeit a very good and legitimate theory. So understanding the fantasy bond is vital because it helps us recognize that our grief over a relationship's end might not be about the loss of true intimacy, but rather the loss of this illusion. So instead of feeling sorry for ourselves, this can prompt us to reflect on the nature of our relationship. Were we genuinely connected? Or were we clinging to a comforting but false idea of togetherness? This line of questioning can be so incredibly enlightening, Yet it's often skipped over if we are assessing our relationship and the bond we had in the wrong way. So, realizing the presence of a fantasy bond can be transformative. It encourages honest assessment of relationships and it confronts true feelings, paving the way for healthier, more fulfilling connections in the future. And with that, we are going to wrap things up for today, everyone. A big thank you once again to Dr. Lisa, and to all of you, of course, for being here and making another episode possible. We could not do this without you. So have a great rest of your day, everybody. Enjoy your weekend, and be sure to come back again tomorrow for both our regular episode as well as our weekly bonus episode. That's where your optimal life awaits.